Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
All right, welcome to another edition of C2C Rankem, brought to you by Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I'm the host, Big B, joined by always my fellow co-host, Prime Time, Tim Hendricks. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm doing excited. This is a good week.
Yeah,
Exciting week.
yeah. Today's topics, as you guys know, we kind of picked a little bit of everything. Today's kind of like a bucket list, we could all kind of say. So places we want to be, sporting events, concerts. We're gonna throw in movie, TV shows that we wanted to be in or wish we could have been in, and then we got living and dead people, two different categories. People we would like to sit down and have a little conversation with, I guess you could say. So let's get going, Tim. With let's go with places first. So, what is your number 5 place you would like to go to?
My number 5 place. I'm a big James Bond fan, and they so nicely went to this place in Casino Royale. And most people who know me know that I'm a big gambler. I like to gamble, and I like to go to casinos, and I like to have fun. It's a little high end for my money, but the place is beautiful. Everything that you see, and I'm not too far from it. It's Monte Carlo.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you haven't been out there yet, huh?
Not yet.
All right. Well, my number 5, not only because you're living there, but I also want to go see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So I'd like to go to Italy, but for me, I'm not much of a flyer, so it's going to take me a lot to get out there. So, yeah, I'd like to go to Italy, just kind of see a different culture and stuff. So, you're number 4.
Well, the thing about it, it took me. Don't worry, it happens. When you get on a plane for the first time, and it's really funny because the first time I went on a plane, it was my 30th birthday. On my 30th birthday, because I went back up to Michigan to move my brother, my dad, and his son down to Florida. So yeah, it happens. And then you get really, really relaxed.
Okay, how long was the flight?
Maybe 3 hours, 4 hours. Wasn't bad.
No, from Florida to Italy.
Oh gosh. Let's see. I left Tampa. I didn't leave Tampa. I left Atlanta at 2 p.m. Eastern time, United States. When the first time I flew to Miami. Let's just say you spent half a day in the air.
I bet.
It from Miami to Milano, it's 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. You're number 4.
My number 4. I have this thing for culture. It's an amazing culture, and to see what has happened over the years in this country and how their work ethic, but the culture to me, and I want to see a lot of the cultures, the Japanese cultures. But I'd love to go to Tokyo. I think Tokyo, to see sumo wrestling, and go see. Most people don't know that, but I'm a big wrestling fan. I'd love to go see some of the Japanese wrestling in Tokyo, and go to the Tokyo Dome and see some of that, but also to see different sacred grounds that you're allowed to go to. But I just love the culture. I love the Tokyo culture. I love the Japanese culture, specifically Tokyo.
I like that one. I kind of thought about it, but kind of left it off right now. For me, number 4, just kind of see what it's like down under, I guess, Australia. Just to go walk around, just kind of see what the culture's like down there, and you know, see how beautiful it is. Everybody says it's beautiful down there. So you're number three.
Again with the culture, but this is at this point we're talking more ancient culture. Yeah, I live in Italy, and I can say that I've gone to Florence and Venice and Milano and Torino. But I've been to the Egyptian Museum in Torino, one of the biggest Egyptian museums in the world. But to go to Cairo, to go to Egypt, to go see the places, and I've always had this fascination with with Egyptian culture, the Egyptian people of ancient times, and to go see something of like the pyramids and the like. To me, I've always considered it fascinating. I've always loved the country. So yeah, to me, Cairo.
Okay. My number three. Now we're getting into places I could drive to, and I should take a road trip someday. Um, but you talk about casinos and stuff. I'd like to get down to Vegas someday, just see the strip and everything that goes down in Vegas. Because rumor has it nobody sleeps. It's always party. So
They don't let you sleep. They
they
don't.
don't
I
let you sleep.
And the funny thing is, there's no clocks in the rumor that there are no clocks in the casino in Vegas are absolutely true. I've been to Vegas. Um, uh, the small story. I know we try to do a lot of small stories on this show. But I made to Vegas with Pops, and he showed me the place. We've been to the Strip, we've been to Bellagio, but the day that we get in, you kind of when you land is earlier than when you took off, and it's definitely weird. But we nobody tells you really to pay attention to things in Las Vegas, and we were staying at Treasure Island. And if people know Treasure Island, they know that there's a pirate show in right outside the excuse me, right outside the hotel and the casino. So I told my dad I'm going to take a nap. I thought it'd be cool to take a nap, not realizing and not paying attention to the clock, and decided as soon as my eyes close and I get about 4 minutes into my sleep, the pirate show takes off and Treasure Island. Next thing you know, I'm getting bounced out of my bed, thinking that it was a drive-by shooting going by the hotel. So yeah, but they don't let you sleep, not even close.
Yeah. All right, number two.
um, the only place on this my entire list that's actually an American state, or and I still can't drive to it even if I were in the United States unless I'm in that state. And it's definitely Hawaii. Hawaii, it's one of those places where it doesn't seem like it's part of the United States because it looks nothing like the United States, and it's got its own. And again, another place that has its own culture. Um, it's beautiful. And when you look at movies like Jurassic Park or the TV series Lost, which were all filmed in Hawaii, you go, I need to go there. I just to relax, just for relaxation, and hope you don't get there when Kilauea is going deciding to explode. But yeah, Hawaii is my number two.
All right, for me, you know, what is it? The funnest place on earth? I think they call it. Disneyland, Disney World. Magical place. Just gotta go see the big old carnival atmosphere, I guess, and just because you go there and you hear, or I heard that the actors they actually portray those princesses, all those, and they don't break character. So I kind of want to see that. So you're number one.
My number one is your number. The only one that I've got that is the same as yours, and it's not your number four. To me, Australia just seems like it's just an amazing place. Everything you see, the people are crazy, but they're but everything that's there. It's just, to me, I'm always fascinated by Australia. Australia
Yeah.
to me is just, you're always just so, you're between Australia and New Zealand. You're always looking at it going, what it's you're always, it's a dream. Everybody's dream is Australia. And yeah, I can understand why you put it on your list because it's on mine.
Yeah, no problem. Welcome, Rob Wiles, to the show. How you doing, Rob? Friend of the network, and he's got his own stuff going on. So welcome to the show, Rob. For me, number one, and I kind of put two places down because I really want to see both of them, and that's the Hall of Fame for baseball and football. You know, just all the historical stuff in there, just to walk through the time capsule, I guess you could say, both those places. But so yeah, so that's my number one. Yeah, I'm surprised we had one together. I figured we wouldn't have any. So all right, so this one next topic we probably will have a lot in sporting events we want to attend. So and it doesn't well, I guess it could be just in general. I guess it doesn't have to be a specific, game. But what's your number five there?
My number five, and I think, and again, I brought it up during Tokyo when talking about Tokyo and wrestling. I've never been close enough to actually go to one. I've been to a pay per view event in Milwaukee, Over the Edge. I've been to a Raw, again in Milwaukee, across the street from the pay per view that I went to. But yeah, WrestleMania. I see WrestleMania. I don't care if it's day one, day two, day 22. I don't care how many days they make WrestleMania, as long as I get a chance to see it. And to me, I love WrestleMania. To me, WrestleMania, they call it the granddaddy. They call it the show of shows. There's a reason for it because it's fun to go to.
Yep. For me, I for being an avid golfer, I gotta go check out the Masters. We get here in Minnesota, we get one of the PGA events, but nothing can top the Masters. I'd like to go walk that course one of these days. So you're number four.
My number four, and this is the one that upsets this one upsets me the most. One of two on my list that upset me the most. Because I was actually, this is the one I think my dad regrets the most because we had season tickets for and didn't buy the tickets because he didn't think they were going to make this series, and we had a chance in 2000. I want to say 2008 when the Tampa Bay Rays went to the World Series. He didn't think that the Tampa Bay Rays was going to the World Series, and he kicked himself until the day he died. But yeah, the World Series, to me, I think it's going to be amazing. I think just everything about the World Series is fun. I don't care if it's game one, game seven. You get me in, as we say as sports fans, as long as I'm in the building, it's the best game I can watch.
Yep. Yep. You talk about granddaddies. My number four, kicks off the race season every year. That's Daytona 500. I would definitely love to go.
Go talk to my sister. My sister and brother-in-law go to Daytona every once in a while.
Do they?
They can get you right there. They're only 3 hours away from Daytona. Just talk to them.
Nice. Yeah, but yeah, Daytona would definitely be a race I would definitely like to go to. So you're number three.
I may have a shot at my number three. This is the crazy one. This is the one that maybe where, as long as I'm still with the channel, hopefully that I can actually report live from. But in 2026, the Winter Olympics are going to be in Milano, Italy.
Ooh.
And hopefully I can go to see any Olympics. But to me, the Winter Olympics, and to me, I love the Olympics. It doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, special. I don't care. Olympics to me are it's just, I love competition, and the Olympics are just that. It's the ultimate in competition.
Well, we might have to put a bug into our owner's ears here and see if we can work on getting a press pass or media credentials for you. So, my number three, of course, is happening Sunday, and Minnesota's had two of them, and I missed both of them. Someday I'd like to go to the Super Bowl. I think it'd be one jam packed. Of course it would be, but to go to a championship game would be awesome. So you're number two.
My number two, and this I've never been close enough to go to. Um, I love hockey. I honestly, if my parents had let me, I'm going to say this very clearly in case my mom's listening. Um, if you would have let me play hockey instead of in when I was in fifth or sixth grade, I would have never played football. I would have played hockey, and I love hockey to death. And to me, it's only number two because of my number one, and that's the Stanley Cup. Again, you give me game one, game seven, I don't care. I want to be in the building where the trophy is, and the Stanley Cup trophy is. To me, I love Stanley Cup hockey.
Oh yeah, playoff hockey, no doubt, top. For me, your number four is my number two. But I want to be there when the series is over. I want to be there game four, game five, game six, game seven. Yeah, someone gives me tickets to game one and two, I'm going to go, no doubt. But I would like to be there in the World Series in the clinching game. So you're number one. Can't wait to hear this one.
My number one is your number three. To me,
Okay.
and I've been, and this is the one that bothers me the most because this is another one where I've been close enough. I've been to
Yeah.
Raymond James, and I've been to the Super Bowl card show. I've been to the Super Bowl experience in Tampa. I've been to Jacksonville. I've been inside both of these stadiums, not on Super Bowl Sunday. But yeah, the Super Bowl. To me, it's this again. It's the Daytona of the NFL. It's the final game. It's Game 7 in the NBA Finals, the World Series, the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
It's the Rose Bowl of the NFL. To me, it's the granddaddy of them all.
Yep. For me, no doubt, number one is your number five. I got to get me to a WrestleMania. I mean, that is one where I will buy the nosebleed seats just to say I was at WrestleMania, or standing room only, or stuff like that, just to say, just to literally say I was there at WrestleMania, whatever. So that is our sporting list. So we had a couple. Our top three, or we had three of the same, so that's not bad. So let's move into concerts. I kind of think we did this one earlier, but it might have been something a little bit different.
No, it's the concerts we went to. There was the concerts that we went to.
What concerts we went to? Okay.
Yeah, this is bucket list concerts, and
This is bucket list. All right. So start off with your number five.
okay. Originally, my number five was Garth Brooks,
Been
and then
there, done that.
and then yeah, you've done that. So you've already twice. So you've already got ahead of me on this. And then you said in backstage where you said, well, I've put some on the list that I wish I could go back in time for. So I took Garth Brooks off my list.
All right.
And I went with the Purple Man himself. I went with Prince. To me, Prince is if he was still alive, I think I would sell half my family to go see Prince.
Yeah, for me, my number five, the king of music, king of rock and roll, or Elvis. I'd love to go see him, just to go back and just see how crazy it was. I mean, we know what kind of craziness the teen idols have nowadays. I mean, what was it back when Elvis was there? I mean, that would be cool to see. So you're number four.
My number four, I know you've already seen because I've seen the pictures on your Facebook page. So at this point, I had to take Garth Brooks off the list because that would have been two. But yeah, Boys to Men.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Again, and it's one that I've always had this feeling. And then what is it? They did a concert at Shea Stadium, I think, and one time, and they had Billy Joel on stage with them. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, but then It's I've always had this affinity to see them in concert, and it hasn't changed in 20 plus years. But yeah, to see Boys to Men would be something.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was, I ain't going to say life changing, but it was awesome to see the group that I've always wanted to see and be up close and personal. So that was good. My number 4 is your number 5. If I could, I'd go back and catch a Prince concert. I mean, how could you not? I mean, even if it was just, even if I was at the club where he owned and he just showed up and started playing, I mean, just to see Prince play, you know.
Exactly.
So you're number 3.
My number 3. It's really weird because a lot of people wouldn't think that this group was on my list. But the first time I ever heard this band was back in I want to say the mid 80s. And absolutely love everything they've done. Yeah, they've gotten they've gotten a little more commercial. But to hear you two play, and I hear they put on the concert of a lifetime every time they go out. I would murder. I'm not going to say I murder the president, but I would seriously think about it.
Yeah, watch what you say. So, my number 3, now my top 3, we're getting into, current acts, I guess you could say. Justin Timberlake. I think the highlights I've seen of him just seems like, I mean, even watching the Super Bowl show that he did here in Minnesota, I think it would just be an entertaining show to watch. I'd probably be tired because I'm up and down and moving around, but yeah, Justin Timberlake. You're number 2.
I'd see Timberlake. I wouldn't murder anybody for Timberlake, but I'd go see Timberlake. I wouldn't turn tickets down for Timberlake. This one's weird because there aren't too many people out there that know that I'm a big Jared Leto fan, and I love watching his movies. And then when I found out, much like Jack Black, that he had a band, I'm going to listen to it. And then when you find out that his band is actually good, unpopular opinion, because I know there's a lot of people going, I don't think his band's all that great. But to see 30 Seconds to Mars, to me, it's one it's up there. If it's number 2, it's a bucket list, and I don't know how long they're gonna tour and they're gonna be together. But to me, I'm hoping they're as long as my number 1 and my number 3. I've got a long time, but yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars.
All right, yeah, my number 2, country band. I mean, they got a lot of great hits out there, and they could probably play for hours if they wanted to play every song they had a hit on, and that's Alabama. I want to see them. Hopefully.
I think you missed your shot on that. I think Randy Owens is retired.
Yeah. You never know. Never say never.
I know where his mom lives. No, seriously, I do. She lives she lives in the same, just right outside the town that my mom and my brother and my sister all live. They live
nice
between High Springs and oh, now I'm gonna be so screwed up on this. But towards Gainesville, they live right around the corner from where my mom used to live.
Yeah, I don't think
we'll talk to her. She may get Randy to get back out there and
do it again. All right, you're number 1.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not a Beatles fan, so Beatles are not my number 1. But my aunt has seen this band in Atlanta. Bought me a shirt that does not fit, mind you. But they're the icons of longevity. I believe they've only lost 1 member of their band, maybe 2. People don't at me because I'm going to be wrong. But the Rolling Stones, to me, I've heard, and to do it for as long as they've done it for close to 60 plus years.
Yeah.
And if any of the groups that I've got on my list before this can last that long, I've got time. But Yeah, the Rolling Stones. Can't stand the Beatles, but give me the Rolling Stones all day long.
Yeah. My number one, and I know time's ticking on this one because I've heard this person has some kind of health issues or stuff like that. Dolly Parton. I really want to go see her or have her. I don't think she's touring, so it would be going down to Dollyville or Dollywood and seeing her if she still sings and stuff like that. But it'd be nice to see Dolly.
That'd be a good one. I completely agree.
Dolly Kenny Rogers would be a phenomenal concert, I think.
Yeah, back when Kenny, because I missed the Kenny Rogers tour. The Kenny did the, I think Kenny did the UP State Fair one year, and he had a special guest. And anyone want to guess who the special guest was?
Yeah.
Fair? And that's the one I'm kicking myself for because it would have been Dolly and Kenny.
Yeah.
The one I didn't put on the list, and it really bothers me that I didn't put it on the list, was Brooks and Dunn. To me, Brooks, I love Brooks and Dunn. I just do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got to see Kenny before he came to Treasure Island here in Minnesota, and got to see him. It was tough to watch him because he barely could move, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move into our fourth topic, and this is movies and TV shows that we wish we could have been a part of or been in, I guess. So, this one I think is going to be. If we got any same one, I'll be surprised.
This one's definitely going to be interesting because I don't think we're going to have any one the same.
Yeah. So you're number 5.
If anybody's watched this show before, they've heard me say this group of shows together. So I had to put two groups. I had to put this in as together because they're part of the same universe. And I love this show. And it's sad as if my wife is watching this right now, she understands that we're about to be finished with watching this on Wednesday. But I love this show, and it's a show that Anthony Hopkins has come out and said it's the best acted show in TV history. And when you're getting that from Anthony Hopkins, it's you can't argue with a man that's won Oscars for being the best villain in history. But Breaking Bad and the Better Call Saul series, to me, I love it. And they link so perfectly together. And yeah, it's fun. And it would really test the acting chops that I have because you've got to really play it right down the line.
I bet. For me, growing up watching these two shows, kind of, if I could go back in time and be a young actor, I would love to be a part of these shows. Because back then it was the ideal families on both sides. The Brady Bunch of the Cosby Show. I would have loved to have been, part of that show as friends or part of the main cast or something like that.
Right.
You're number 4.
I've become a huge fan of this show back when Pops was still around. I've been lucky enough to meet people from this show, including Aquaman. And the Mandalorian, both were in the show. To me, I think it's an action drama. HBO's one of HBO's greatest series of all time, and that's the Game of Thrones. Ooh. To me, I love Game of Thrones, and that's another one you've got it. That's the one that'll test your physical and your mental abilities as an actor to get everything just right.
Yeah, no doubt about that. My number 4, again, I think, we watched the movie so many times, everybody could probably sing the songs and probably come up with half the sayings and stuff. It's Grease. I would love to be part of the T-Birds, and, I think the high schooler in me, we always had our little cliques and stuff. So, yeah, Grease would have been a cool one to be a part of. You're number 3.
This is the show that would make me only want to be in this show for like an episode or two, as a walker. I don't think I've got I don't think I have the mentality to stay in this show a long time, even if I was going to be a savior if I was going to be a whisperer, if I was going to be part of any other groups, Rick's groups. Basically, anybody who's watching this is going, I know exactly where he's talking, and that's The Walking Dead.
Okay, yeah, that one. I've seen clips of all these shows that you're talking about, but nothing. Excuse me. My number 3 show, and I've been watching this constantly on reruns, and just because it's always seems like it's always on every time I turn on Hulu or something. I'd like to be part of Friends, so it'd be a cameo or recurring character, but definitely would like to be a part of that show. You're number 2.
My number 2. Now this one's the hitting the feels type of thing, because my brother would used to watch this when we were growing up on Fox mornings on Saturdays, and he'd always wake up. He couldn't wake up for school to save his life, yet he found a way to work an alarm clock so he could be up early enough to watch this cartoon. And then Disney Plus so nicely put it on Disney so now he can watch it whenever he wants, so he don't have to set an alarm. But we always sat there and had conversations about, well, if they ever made this movie, who would you put in this character and who would you put in this character? We were never smart enough to put ourselves in these characters. And then in the 90s, they made the movies, and it was X-Men. To me, X-Men, my brother sat there, woke up and would wake up on 92, 93 and watch the X-Men. Can't save his life to wake up to go to school, but he's awake on Saturday mornings just to watch X-Men and then go back to bed.
All right, my number 2. Yeah, and I brought this movie up quite a bit because it kind of reminds me of my childhood growing up. Probably one of the best baseball movies out there. And that's Sandlot. I would love to been a part of that little group of friends just to go out and play some baseball. Good morning, Chuck. How you doing? Chuck Hoffman, if you guys don't know, is a part of owner and coach of the Oregon Cougars football, which you can catch here on C2C. So,
morning, Chuck.
So what's your number 1?
What was your number 2?
Sandlot. I'm sorry, I thought I said it. Sandlot.
I hadn't guessed, but see, we most of us are married, and like many of our wives say, wish you could read our minds. No, we can't. I can't.
Yeah.
We can't even read our own minds half the time.
Yeah, no, I wish I was a group of the Sandlot. I think that would have been cool to.
Oh, that yeah.
Your number 1.
My number 1. This one again, since my dad took me to see Empire Strikes Back in the theaters in 1980. I think my brother and I never once thought about being a stormtrooper. It was always we always wanted to be the X-wing fighters trying to take down the Death Star. We wanted to be Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. It was one of those. Even if you put me in a like Daniel Craig in Force Awakens or Tom Hardy in the Last Jedi, where they put him in a stormtrooper, or Kevin Smith, where they gave him a role where all he did was just voice over a stormtrooper. I don't care. You could have made me whatever you wanted. You could have layered me in prosthetics and in makeup and put me in Star Wars, and I'd have been the happiest guy. I'd have died afterwards because my heart would have stopped because of joy. But yeah, to me, Star Wars is the one.
No, that's a good one. That's definitely a good one. I thought about Star Wars because Darth Vader would have been a good one to be, because everybody tries to imitate the voice. So for me, number 1, going back to high school, I mean these kids were it. You had the sports guy, you had the valedictorian, you had the girl everybody wanted to date, you had
not another teen movie.
No, it's TV show. It's Saved by the Bell.
Oh, I was going to say Dawson's Creek. No.
Yeah. No, I didn't like Dawson's Creek, but
Eh,
Saved by the Bell. I mean, just to have that group of friends and you know stuff like that. So, so let's move on. We'll start with people we want to chat with that are living.
oh my
And
god!
what would you want to ask them? Let's throw that out there. We got
Oh
some
my
time to kill.
gosh!
So, what's your number 5?
You had to throw that. You had to throw that swerve, knowing who my number 5 is on my dead. Um,
Well,
uh,
these are living. We're doing living first.
oh, I know, but my number that question would
Well,
be.
yeah. When it comes to people that passed, I think we're gonna have a
I
hard
don't
time
know.
coming up with just one
I might get.
question. But
I might get canceled for my number 5. I'm dead.
let's not
Yeah.
try that.
Dwayne Johnson. To me, I would ask him. Everybody would ask him about wrestling, and everybody would ask him about that. I would ask him about his mother's influence on him. It's going to be about wrestling, but his mother's influence on him, because she used to run
Yep.
she used to run the Samoan Wrestling Alliance out in Hawaii. And
Yep.
I'd love to know what influence and what advice she gave him to be a promoter, to help him in the business. If she tried to sway him away from the business or towards the business. I know Rocky tried to keep him away from the business. But I
Well,
understand
if you watch Young Rock, it's kind of vice versa.
it's yeah, and and I'd like to know a little bit more what his mom tried to do,
Yeah.
to steer him away from, and why, and what for.
Okay. So my number 5 is more of a local guy here. He's he's got um he wears many hats. Let's just say he's got a morning radio show. He's part of a band that's coming back up. He works for the Vikings. Of course, then he's a father figure. And that's Chris Hockey. This guy is like, an idol. I mean, what I would like to ask him is, just simply how do you keep it all together? I mean, to have 4 different lifestyles. I mean, a rock star, a DJ, working for the Vikings, and then just your at home life. So you're number 4.
My number 4, and these are, everybody understands these are all personal favorites.
Yep.
But to me, you know me as being a Colts fan, and me being, and everybody's saying, "Oh, you want to talk to Jim Irsay or Robert Irsay?" No, I'd like to talk to the sheriff. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Peyton Manning. To me, I wouldn't ask him about his days in Indianapolis or Denver, but I would really like to know. I'd like to go in depth on what his decision was to not go to Ole Miss,
Oh, okay.
like his dad and his brother was going to go to, but and he instead going to Tennessee, because he's the only one. If him and we all know, the youngest one, that the kid is going to Texas. But what made him think about going to Tennessee instead of Ole Miss? To me, it wouldn't have mattered either way, because me being a Gator fan, we would have seen him once instead of 4 times. But yeah, I would have loved to know what that decision was, why he came to that decision.
For me, my number 4 is a very funny comedian. Have yet to see him in concert, seen a lot of his Netflix stuff, YouTube clips, and that's Fluffy. And what I would like to do is sit down and just talk to him and just be like, what's it like on the road? And we could probably ask all these guys this, especially sport athletes, but what's the hardest part of being on the road? Or what's the funnest part? What's the road life like? So you're number 3.
Star Wars fans are going to be really interested in my conversation with George Lucas. To me, I think more Star Wars fans would like to know the reason why he didn't do the sequels himself and why he sold to Disney. I'm to me, and I know I'm in the minority. I don't mind that he sold to Disney. I just want to know his thoughts on why he did that. I understand he's the same age as my number two. But what his feeling was like, what his feelings were like, was he pressured into selling? Was he pressured into trying to do the sequels himself or whatever? But yeah, it's kind of interesting that all of a sudden out of nowhere he's selling to Disney.
Yeah. My number three, probably one of recent guys who pretty much you turn on TV and he's in movies, TV shows, commercials. I think he's got his own show, and that's Kevin Hart. And I kind of would like to ask him: is there something that you haven't done, or is there a role you turned down that you wanted to do, or wish you would have done? Stuff like that. But you're number two.
My number two went to school with my number three. Went to film school with my number three. And I would love to know, because I've seen a documentary about my number two, and I would have asked the question. I don't think I've ever heard anybody ask the question: if he wasn't a director, what would he have done if he had not gone to film school? Because I've seen it, I've seen him, and he's been in movies. And matter of fact, I got done watching him in Vanilla Sky. He was in it for a brief second. He just did The Fablemans. Was basically The Fablemans. The Fablemans is basically about his life story about getting into the movie business, and he directed it, and he wrote it. But I would love to have known what he would have done. And that's Steven Spielberg.
Oh, that's definitely a good one. My number two is your number five, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and pretty much what you kind of said. What more or less what his family influenced. Chief Maya Villa, all those. But yeah, definitely what his mom influenced or did influence him on into doing.
My other question that I would ask Dwayne Johnson is: would he acknowledge Roman Reigns?
Well, we'll see. You're number one.
My number one is the richest man in the world. And okay, he might not be the richest man in the world, but I know he's rich. To start the businesses that he did, to see what Bill Gates has done in this world, and what made him think he could do. I would love to know what his thought process was if he had completed school. Because everybody knows he dropped out of school.
Yep.
And I would have loved to have known what his thought process was. If he had stayed in school, what would he have done? Would we have gotten everything later? Would we have not gotten anything at all?
Yep.
But yeah, Bill Gates, and I'm not going to ask him for. Everybody's like, well, you could ask him for money. No, that's the easy way out.
Yeah.
But you always want to know what people are thinking.
Yep.
What they were thinking just before they did it, because you can learn from somebody else's path. You can learn from what they've done to where they got, and ask it. And I'd love to ask another question I'd love to ask him is, does he have any regrets? What's his biggest regret? Did he have a huge regret before any of this happened? Because we've all made mistakes, but you also want to learn. You also want to learn how people who become successful, learn from their mistakes, and how we could possibly learn from our mistakes. We're not going to have the same mistakes, but have the same strength that they did.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That would really cross my mind a little bit. So my number one, and I got two of them, because to sit down with both of these guys and talk about their sport and the road stories and behind the scenes stuff and Hogan and Flair. I gotta I sit down with both those and just chit chat. You know, what was it like going through camps or to learn the wrestling business? You know, what's it like to be, and even talk to their family. What's it like to be the son or daughter of Hogan or Flair? Stuff like that. So I think that would be a good conversation. So our last topic here, again, is people we want to chat with. But we're going to go on people that passed away. So this should be very interesting. So.
This is I'm going to start with interesting right off the top.
All right, go with it. Number 5.
Oh, I hope this show doesn't get canceled after this. I'm going to need a translator for my number 5.
Okay.
And my number 5 would be Adolf Hitler.
Ooh.
And the only question that I would ask him is a 3-letter word. Why?
Yeah.
Because, it's everybody's like they're looking for a time machine to go back and kill Adolf Hitler. Maybe he needed somebody to listen.
Yeah.
Maybe he, I just want to get into a mind of the most sadistic person in our recorded history. It's you don't want to fall in that same trap, but you also want to understand your enemy. Sun Tzu told you to understand your enemy, and to know your enemy is to know your enemy is to learn from your enemy, and I want to know why he was half the things that he did, why he did them, what was the reasoning for it. Yeah, I know he was crazy, I know he was psychotic, but I want to know why the thoughts that he had that was so necessary to use propaganda against the entire religion and to the whole region. It always confuses and conflicts me. Yeah, the easy answer to that's hate, but you want to know why there was hate, what the hate was for. And and just the question why will make you a better person, because then you're not looking for sympathy. Maybe he needs sympathy, but this is going to get me canceled quick. But you have to understand why he did it, and everybody inside his inner group knew why he did it, but nobody outside knew why he did it.
Yeah.
And I think we can become a better person. We can be a better people if we learned why he did it.
No, I think that's a fair question. Definitely, something that would be well documented if we were able to do that. For me, number 5 is the creator, inventor of baseball. I mean, Albert Spalding. Just to see what the process was of him coming up with the game. And I could probably say that about all sports, what was the process. But being a big baseball fan, just what was the idea? What was the original rules? What was the all that fun stuff? So you're number 4.
Abraham Lincoln. To me, I always wanted to know what made him want to make that jump from being a lawyer to politics.
Oh, okay.
Because he everybody knows he was a lawyer, and it was, to me, it always seemed like it was a weird jump. Yeah, now it seems like it's a normal jump from lawyer to politician. I'd love to ask him. I'd also love to ask him if he got pressure from his political party as he was getting ready to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. Because I'd like to know what type of pressure he was getting just before something like that happened, and how nervous he was, what kind of blowback he was worried about getting. We all know the blowback that he got, but if he was nervous, if he was scared of what was possibly going to happen To me, it always baffles my mind to see what goes through one's head. And no, I'm not going to say a bullet. But yeah, his mind is one of those that I'd love to pick for days and days and days.
Yeah, no, actually, I did have them and kind of crossed them off. So, my number 4, uh, Martin Luther King. I would like to sit down and just chat about his speech and what the process was it of things he was going to say. Was it written down? Did he have it, or was it just one of those things where he just came out and just said what he said? So definitely would have liked to talk to him about that period of time. You're number 3.
My number 3 just recently passed away. Matter of fact, she was. I think. Matter of fact, she was it the last show? I want to say it was our last show because she had her. We was one of her one of the birthdays was on that last show. But royalty of Hollywood, absolute royalty of Hollywood. The only woman on this entire list, and because she's just crazy. But Betty White. And I'd ask her what it's like to be an icon in 6 decades, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s. She went from the Mary Tyler Moore show where she played the villain because she played a mean woman on Mary Tyler Moore's show, all the way up to what is it, in Hot in Cleveland or something along
Something
those
like
lines.
that. Yep.
And every time you saw her, she's matching wits with Sandra Bullock or Ryan Reynolds or in all those other things in The Proposal. But everything she does, she's so off the cuff. And what it's like to be the standard bearer in Hollywood is a woman who succeeded in 70 years because she was big in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and to have a husband like Alan Ludd to be ahead of the studio, but you become bigger than the studios that he worked for. Yeah, definitely. And I know I'm going to get a smart ass answer. That's the thing. I'm expecting it. And just to have the conversations knowing that the jokes are coming and just over and over and over again. And I'd be laughing. To me, I think she's one of the funniest women ever. And it would be I would sit there and not have to say a word because I know she's going to do a lot of talking and I'm going to have the greatest day of my life.
No doubt. That's my number 3 was Betty White. And I would just simply ask her what um the time the changes of the times and things back in her childhood that the kids have now and stuff like that. And of course how do you stay relevant over the years of decades that you expanded and an icon. You're definitely right on that part. So yeah, Betty White number 3. You're number 2.
It is weird that I put both presidents that have been shot in the head. And to be assassinated. One of the two of a couple more that they're out there. But I don't want to know, and it's John F. Kennedy, and I don't want to know if he had ties with the mafia or Marilyn Monroe. I honestly would love to ask him how close were we to World War III. I would love to know how with everything that happened in Cuba, how close we were with Khrushchev and the Cuban Missile Crisis. How close were we to World War III? Because I truthfully don't think Oliver Stone got close enough. I think we're never going to know. I think the secrets of the closeness of World War III died with John and Robert. And I would love to have known how close we were.
No, that definitely would have been a great question, I think. Um, Number 2 for me, probably one of the funniest guys in comics that I know of. I mean, the guy can do different voices, and that's one reason why I would want to sit down with Robin Williams, just to have him do different voices. And you sit with one person, but you're having a conversation with, hundreds of different people. And, just hear about what got him into comedy and, the backstory of how he got there and, stuff like that, I think would be a good one. You're number 1.
It's odd how we have 2 people on a list that we shouldn't have anybody together. Yeah, to me, my number 1 is your number 2. To me, I don't think I would actually ask Robin a question. I think the whole conversation would be thank you. I think it would just be thank you for what you've done for the world, what you've done for the world.
Yeah.
I think questions don't do it justice. I think thank you, and then go from there, because I think Robin Williams is from everything I've heard outside of what you see in front of cameras. Robin's was a private person, was an extremely private person. To sit down and have a conversation and go and tell him you don't need to be on with me. You don't have to be, I'm happy. I'm happy to be in the same room. But yeah, just to have a conversation and hope the conversation never ends.
Yeah, that definitely would be it. My number 1, and I'm going to pull out the Homer card on this one. Sit down with Kirby Puckett and just talk about his, growing up and, what was the locker room like? What's it like to win a couple World Series rings? And then also sit down with his kids and just be, again, kind of like with Hogan and Flair, and, we'll sit down with the family and be like, what's it like to be the son and daughter of Kirby Puckett? Outside of Prince, he was Minnesota, so definitely would like to sit down and, chat with that way. So, all right, there's our list, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, like Tip, we always say, drop a comment. What do you want us to break down? What do you want us to rank? We're willing to do whatever you guys want to do. So, Tim, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think this was a good show. It was just something that night that I texted you about it, and it felt like right to do it. And for some reason I bucket list things on my head that night. And yeah, granted it was just before I go to bed. But I couldn't let myself go to bed until we had these lists down. And to me, I think it's, I'm excited. I'm happy that some of these lists don't cancel me for the Adolf Hitler thing. But it's everybody's got bucket lists, and we're not.
Yeah.
Granted, you found shocking things where we have some of the same things, and it was weird. It's weird because it was one of those we didn't expect to have similarities on, but we did, and that tells you, our listeners, how close we actually are to each other, how well we mix, and how well we are. So yeah, like Brandon says, drop us suggestions, because we're going to run out of suggestions. We're going to run out of thoughts, and don't be afraid to either to give them to us, to drop us a line, put them in our comments. Don't be afraid to get a hold of us, because we listen. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, with that being said, again, thanks for our viewers for watching, Chuck and Rob for chiming in. Check us out tonight for Between the Ropes. I think the plan is for a special show. I don't know the whole details.
What kind of special show?
I don't
Is
know.
it a secret special show?
Yeah, I don't know the whole
We don't
details.
tell you these things.
So, again, also check out Oregon Cougars football. We're going to be streaming their games live starting April 22nd. I think next week we're going to do our first In the Den with the Cougars show, and
Is
hopefully
Chuck
have
going to
some
be
fun.
on?
What's that?
Is Chuck going to be on?
We don't know yet. We hope
on,
to have
Chuck.
Chuck on there.
Chuck,
We
you're
hope
the
to have
owner.
Chuck
You're
on
the
there, some of the players.
Chuck, you're the owner. You're the coach. You got to be on the show, bud.
He most likely will be. So, but with that being said, keep checking out C2C because we got a lot of things coming, a lot of shows up and going. So, we'll see you next week for another episode of C2C Rankem. Have a good one.